As you watch the deep meaning images in this video, I'll walk you through deep motivational words up to the last minutes. What are we actually chasing when we say we don't have time? We sit in the same room even if we have never met. No one standing above anyone else. No one holding answers like a map folded neatly in their pockets. Just us breathing, aware of the clock somewhere nearby. Not loud, not urgent, just present. We nod along the way, the idea that time is something we manage, something we lose, something that runs ahead of us. But there's a quiet feeling beneath that story, the one that's holding the name. We move through our days quickly. We finish tasks, we start new ones, keep promises, break a few in silence, and still there's that strange sensation, like running on a moving walkway, legs walking just tight, yet the scenery barely changes. We are active but not advancing, busy but not arriving. It is uncomfortable to admit this out loud, so we don't. We tell ourselves we are just in a season, that later we'll explain now, that once things settle, we'll feel the ground again. But time doesn't wait at the edge of the room for us to catch up. It passes through us, like water through open hands. We don't feel each drop, only the dampness afterward. Moment slips, not dramatically, not with alarms or warnings. They leave quietly. A morning ends without being noticed. A conversation fails before we realize it mattered. A whole week compresses into a single blurry memory. And we tell ourselves it's fine. We tell ourselves this is normal. We tell ourselves we'll remember later. There's a subtle tension in that telling, a hum beneath the surface, because somewhere inside we sense it. Time isn't moving past us like traffic we can watch from sidewalk. It is moving through us, shaping us while we are distracted, etching its marks while we are looking elsewhere. And as we sit here together, feeling that unease begin to rise, we start to wonder if the problem were never time escaping us, but us not being fully here when it arrived. We don't usually notice it at first, though it doesn't arrive all at once. It settles slowly, like dust in the room that's still being used. We keep moving through it, opening doors, sitting down, standing back up, telling ourselves we'll clean it later. And because we are still functioning, still responding, still showing up, we assume nothing is wrong. But then the day ends. We look back, not searching for meaning, just trying to remember. And there is a gap, not a dramatic one, just a blankness where something should be. We were busy, the calendar was full, messages were answered, tasks were completed. Yet when the noise fades, the memory feels thin, almost hollow. We tell ourselves tomorrow will be fine, will be different. You postpone small things that matter and rush through ones that don't. You check the clock without needing to know the time, as if it might confirm something you already feel. You dread decisions that ask you to be honest, telling yourself you're just being careful. At night, you open a notebook or a note app, not to write anything important, just to leave proof that you are here. The page fills with fragments, half thought, question you don't answer at all. Your days are crowded, your memories are not. That contrast creates a specific kind of tension, not panic, not fear, just a raw grade pressure behind. You sense that something is available only now, but you treat now like a hallway, somewhere to pass through on the way to a more complete room. You rehearse conversations that haven't happened yet. You wait for a version of yourself that feels more prepared. You plan for a future that feels cleaner, more observing of your attention. And still, the present keeps offering itself, unedited, unrepeated. There is no accusation in this, no failure to correct, just an observation we tend to avoid. Time doesn't respond to intention, it responds to use. It's the only surface we are allowed to touch, the only place where anything can change and can be changed. Not yesterday, not later, only here, where the weight is felt. You already know this. That's the discomfort, knowing without acting, seeing the door and standing in front of it, hand hovering, convincing yourself that noticing is enough. It is almost is, but not quite. You didn't call it a low point at the time. You didn't feel dramatic enough to deserve a name. It was just a stretch of days that slide into each other, edges soft, decision dead until they no longer felt like decision at all. You wake up with plans and went to sleep having touched none of them deeply. Nothing collapsed, nothing exploded. That was the problem. Back then, the pain felt useless. It didn't change you. It didn't clarify anything. It just sat there, dull and persistent, like background noise you eventually stop trying to turn off. You told yourself you were conserving energy, waiting for the right condition. You believed that doing less meant preserving something for later. Your days become your experiments. You never wrote down. You tried distraction. You tried overthinking. You tried staying busy enough to avoid the silence where question lived. Time passed anyway. Some nights you wrote. Not real entries, fragments, evidence. Today felt full. I don't remember why. Maybe tomorrow makes more sense. Not sad, not motivated, just here. The pages didn't read anywhere. They just got stacked up like seeds scattered across dry ground. You kept planting ideas, intentions, promises to yourself, but you didn't stay. You walked away before anything could take root. You assumed growth was automatic, that time alone would do the work. In that period, discomfort didn't feel like a signal. It felt like a static, something to enjoy until it passed. You didn't recognize it as information. You treated it like weather, unpleasant, temporary, unrelated to your choices. Looking back, the mistake wasn't wasting time, it was misreading it. You use days the way someone flips through pages without trading, familiar enough to feel productive, empty enough to leave no trace. You said yes without presence. You said no without intention. You filled hours but avoided moments. And the quiet cost of that avoidance showed up as a vague dissatisfaction you couldn't explain to anyone, including yourself. The clarity comes later, not as an instant, but as a pattern you couldn't ignore. You noticed how nothing you rushed ever stayed with you. How the things you abandoned early never stopped asking for attention. How the pain you tried to outweigh followed you. patient, unchanged. Only then did it make sense. The discomfort wasn't meaningless, it was unprocessed instruction. Not as a punishment, not a flaw, just information you kept skipping over. You didn't fail because you lacked discipline or direction. You failed because you treated time like a container instead of a conversation. You spoke into it, plans, intentions, effort, but you didn't listen for a response. You didn't stay long enough to hear what the days were trying to tell you. The drift ended not with a breakthrough, but with a pause, a moment where you finally noticed what had been happening all along. And once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. You start to see it once you stop arguing with it. Time isn't hunting you. It isn't impressed by your plans or threatened by your delays. It moves with the same indifference toward everyone, touching each life without exception, not as a judge, as an equalizer. You notice it in ordinary scenes, the kind that never ask for attention, a cup left too long on the table, the warmth gone when you return, a message you meant to answer yesterday, now carrying a different weight. Light shift across a world you have seen every day, somehow unfamiliar. Nothing announces itself as important while it's happening. Importance arrives later, wearing the disguise of memory. Urgency is used to feel like proof that something mattered. If your pulse stayed high, if your schedule stayed full, you assumed you were participating in life. Presence felt slower by comparison, less efficient, almost irresponsible. So, you hurried through moments that couldn't keep up, convinced that speed meant engagement. But time doesn't reward urgency, it responds to attention. It passes when you rush, it passes when you wait, it passes when you notice, it passes when you don't. The difference isn't in how fast it moves, the difference is in what it reveals along the way. You begin to understand that time doesn't push meaning toward you, it uncovers it, slowly, without commentary. The things you tried to force never opened. The things you stayed with, even awkwardly, even imperfectly, started to show texture. Depth appeared not because you searched hard, but because you stayed present long enough for it to emerge. Impermanence stopped feeling like a threat when you watch it closely. The day ends whether it was well-lived or not. The conversation fades whether you were honest or not. The season changed without asking if you are ready. Nothing of this is personal. That realization brings a strange calm. Moments keep passing. The coffee cools, the room darkens. The body ages in small, forgettable increment. This happens whether you mark it or ignore it, whether you treat time like an obstacle or a companion. And in that observation, something settles. You stop trying to outrun the clock. You stop bargaining with it. You begin to stand still inside it, not frozen, just attentive. Time continues as it always has, silent, steady, uninterested in your urgency, generous with its reasons, and as you watch it move through the ordinary, you feel the tension. Your tension is, there's nothing to defeat here, nothing to catch up, only something to witness. We come back together here, not to summarize, not to draw conclusion, but to breathe again inside the same moment. The pressure is this when we remember this isn't a test we are being graded on. There's no version of the present we are supposed to perform correctly. There's just this interaction we keep arriving at. again and again. We were taught to treat the present like a pitch, a narrow window where we have to act fast or miss everything. But the story never quite fit. The present isn't a stage or a deadline. It is more like a doorway that's always open. We pass through it constantly, something without noticing the frame, sometimes without noticing the frame, sometimes pausing, hand on the edge, unsure whether to step fully inside. Meaning rarely announces itself on entry. It shows up late, days after the moment ends. Years sometimes. We look back and realize a choice mattered more than it felt at the time. Or that something we dismissed as ordinary was quietly shaping us. That delay doesn't mean we failed to notice. It's just how understanding works. Now is small, now is heavy. It holds almost nothing, and it carries everything. That contradiction stops feeling confusing once we stop demanding clarity on arrival. We don't need the present to explain itself. We just need to meet it without rushing past. We have all had moments we didn't recognize until they were gone. Conversations that triggered only later. Sentences that made sense in hindsight. None of that means we weren't paying attention enough. It means time surveys meaning on its own schedule. Standing in this doorway together, we don't have to force significance. We don't have to squeeze purpose out of every second. The present isn't asking to be maximized. It is asking to be entered. We feel the relief in that, the permission to stop chasing the feeling that we are dead, the grounding that comes from realizing there's nowhere else to stand. Every path, every memory, every possibility passes through this same narrow point. Now it's small, now it's heavy. And as we let that settle, the moment stops feeling like a demand. It starts to feel like a place we are allowed to occupy, fully, briefly, honestly, before time carries us gently forward again. We stayed here because this is where the story tightens, not in a dramatic way, in a familiar one, the kind we recognize but don't rush to claim. Change was visible long before it arrived with consequences. We saw the edges shifting. We felt the discomfort growing specific. And still, we stayed where we were, calling it patience, calling it loyalty, calling it giving things more time. At first, as this thing change felt stable. Familiar routines acted like anchors. We told ourselves we were being thoughtful, not afraid, not that staying was a decision, that not choosing was still a form of control. Time didn't challenge that belief. It never does. It just kept moving. Eventually, the small avoidance accumulated, a conversion delayed too many times, a direction left undefined, a truth postponed until it hardened into something heavy. None of those moments felt urgent enough to confront on their own. Together, they become a current, and then the voice turns inward again. You remember the exact decision you didn't make, not because they were dramatic, but because they were clear. You sensed where things were heading and chose not to interfere. You waited for certainty to arrive first. You hoped clarity would make the discomfort unnecessary. Time did not argue with you. It did not negotiate. It did not offer a warning speech. It simply kept going. And eventually, what you avoided deciding was decided for you. The job shifted. Relationship changed. Shift. The body responded. The opportunity expired without ceremony. Looking back, you can trace the difference between adapting slowly, and being carried unwillingly. Adaptation required presence. It asked for small, repeated adjustment. Being carried required nothing from you at all, except acceptance once momentum took over. Your journal from that period tells the story without interpretation. Still unsure, something feels off, but I can't name it. Maybe it passes. Why does this feel heavier now? The entries grow shorter as the options narrow. Not because you had less to say, but because fewer paths remained. Tension lived in the waiting. Acceptance arrived only after movement becomes unavoidable. This wasn't punishment, it was process. Time didn't speed up to catch you off guard. It didn't slow down to give you space. It maintained itself. It paced while you stood still. And that contrast created a force you felt later. Drift isn't passive. It is just distractionless movement, guided by whatever pulls hardest. The acceptance that followed wasn't relief. It was a recognition. You saw how change happens whether you participate or not. How resistance doesn't preserve the present. It only delays your involvement in what's already unfolding. And in that recognition, the tension softened. Not because things become easy, but because they become honesty. You understand that time doesn't require readiness. It responds to engagement. Slowly, adapting meant walking alongside it. Drifting meant arriving after the fact, trying to make sense of the path already taken. You didn't lose anything mystical in that period. You learned something ordinary and irreversible. Time doesn't argue, it moves. And whether you move it with it, it's or are moved by it is a difference you feel only after it is past. You notice it now. If you slow down enough to see, the ordinary doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand applause or recognition. It just exists, and somehow, in its presence, persistence, it becomes remarkable. The light moves across the same room you have passed through 1,000 times, and suddenly, the shadows catch in a way you hadn't observed. A crack in the wall, a curve of a windowsill. The way dust spins in the air. They are ordinary, yet they hold their own rhythm, their own subtle instance. Every breath you take counts, even when it feels invisible. Every glance at a familiar corner carries the imprint of time's passing. And when you let yourself watch, really watch, the owner shift. It's no longer background. It's a teacher that doesn't lecture, a guide that doesn't demand. Its beauty emerges slowly, quietly, like a tip of sunlight brushing across the floor before sunrise.